It is 23rd of March. Directly opposite my childhood home in Kharkiv stands a Soviet-era school. On its wall hangs a memorial plaque in honor of the school's graduates who died in the Afghan war in 1980s and were awarded for their exceptional deeds during the conflict. It was a mandatory requirement to be mentioned on the memorial plaque, to have died and to have been awarded the Order of the Red Star or the title of Hero of the Soviet Union. Those who died without any medals or with awards of lesser honor were not deemed worthy to be mentioned on the walls of their schools. So on the nearest school to my home, there are portraits of two young men who were killed in that war. At the school 100 meters down the street, there are already portraits of three young men who did not return from Afghanistan. There was another school on that street. Soviet city blocks were mostly built with 20 or even 60-story apartment buildings, so there were many schools. That school no longer exists as a Russian missile hit it a year ago, but I remember it well because I used to take my daughter to that school, and it also had a memorial plaque dedicated to two young boys who died in Afghanistan. Why am I telling you all this? You'll understand now. In just one, not really big street, in just one city of the former Soviet Union, there are 7 memorial plaques in honor of local boys who died in Afghanistan and were recognized by the state as heroes. 7 dead Soviet heroes on just one street. This means that the war literally came to every yard, affecting everyone. During that war, over 15,000 Soviet servicemen died in a period of 9 years. In Ukraine, Russians have already lost between 100,000 and 160,000 of their military in just 1 year. That's 8 or even 10 times more than in Afghanistan. And if the Afghan war was unimaginable and monstrous, then how can we describe the insane, bloody invasion of Ukraine, which has already killed more Russians than the almost 10 years of the unnecessary war in Afghanistan? What were these sacrifices made for? Let's be honest, it's all for nothing. The rulers of Moscow are killing people, whatever they own or others, simply because they can. War is not a goal or a means for them, but a horrific, bloody spectacle. And the main expendable material for this spectacle is a living people and quite young people, and this expendable material does not really object to such a treatment. Just look at it. There was a wild, inglorious war in Afghanistan that claimed thousands of lives, and it brought nothing. And the children of those who died for nothing in the Afghan mountains are now dying in the Ukrainian steppes, moreover, on a much larger scale. Very few of them understand why or what they are dying for, but they are dying nonetheless. I have an acquaintance who works with Russian prisoners of war. He divides them into 3 categories. The first category includes ideological occupiers and killers, those who truly believe that Ukraine should not exist, who believe that their life goal is to destroy the Ukrainian people and state. There are not very many of them, but they exist. The second category consists of soldiers who don't believe in all the geopolitical nonsense that Putin spews or simply don't pay attention to it. These are people who did not plan on or want to fight, but did not have the courage to resist the war or at least flee from Russia. They were mobilized against their will, and now they are killing Ukrainians not because they dreamed of it, but because they fear punishment for refusing to participate in the killings. My own brother would certainly fall into this category if he were in the Russian army. He lives in Russia and he knew very well how in the first weeks of the war the Russians were firing rockets at our parents' house. He understood that our father and mother could be killed by Russians, but still choose to stay in Russia, because leaving a country that is trying to kill his parents seemed too uncomfortable to him. Thousands of such apolitical lovers of Russian comfort are now being caught and sent to the front. The third category of Russian prisoners of war is largest, comprising more than half of all Russians who ended up in Ukrainian camps. They are obedient and weak-willed executors of their superiors' will. They have no opinion on any significant issue. If Putin orders them to kill and loot, they will do it without hesitation. If tomorrow he tells them to lay down their weapons and return everything they've stolen to the Ukrainians, they will do that too. The main feature of these people is their striking lack of willpower. They are ready to accept any ideological setting from their superiors, even if it contradicts the one that was in force only yesterday. They are puppets, Putin's Zombieland on March. They are emotionless executors of someone else's criminal will. And there are a lot of them. Their bodies are scattered in fields near Bakhmut. Their decay in nameless graves near Kherson. Their remains packed in black bags fill entire refrigerated trains in Kharkiv. But this Zombieland just does not seem to end.